Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Director Ash. It's a very curious position that I'm in because you and I have had many discussions, not necessarily on this specific issue, but on issues of take and of issues of endangered species. And I just would like to share with everyone that whenever I've asked for a meeting with you on those issues, you have always been more than willing to be there, and you've been always very willing to sit and discuss the plight of the various individuals affected. And I'd like to share with my colleagues here that on the island of Kauai, for example, we have a bird that flies into the lights, and it's a threatened species, and as a result, every time it does that, it becomes a take. And what people may not know here is that in that particular situation, it stopped all high school football games on evenings, and that may not sound like much, but it's a big deal. And I do want to say that in that context, you have been willing to discuss it, willing to discuss, how we work around that, and for that, I find it very difficult to comprehend why there seems to be the sense that what we're dealing with here is some kind of an unfair treatment, because I do know that, part of the policies of the department is to protect those endangered species. And on the same island, we have issues with our state bird that is eating the taro, which is more than it is considered to be sacred to our native people. And you've also been willing to sit and discuss that, and those are endangered species. So you can imagine what the take issue is there, where even if you put up a fence and they walk into the fence, it's a take. I just share that as a background because as I read the testimony that we're discussing here, these are situations where permits have been issued on takes, and that's something that you and I have talked about as a possible resolution for what's going on. So I'm kind of perplexed as to why there seems to be the sense that the Fish and Wildlife Service, and in particular you and your department, are not willing to deal with that, because that's absolutely contrary to my experience. And I just wanted to ask you, Director Ash, that and I assume that I'm not getting any special treatment. So if anyone else has this concern and wants to discuss with you the issues of the take and the permits, I assume that you also make yourself available for those kinds of discussions as well. Am I correct?
You're correct. When I come to your office, I hope when I leave, you always feel like I've shown you some special aloha, perhaps.
That's right.
But any member of the committee, I believe I've provided the same level of courtesy and attention, and when I'm asked, I come. And I bring, as I have in your office, I bring my assistant director for endangered species. I bring the people who can answer your questions and address the concerns of your constituents, and I believe we extend that courtesy regardless of geography or party representation.
So getting to the issue at hand, which is really the idea of that about this the birds and the eagles, in this case the bald and the golden eagle, and the fact that there seems to be some kind of implication that or inference that they are being given special treatment when it comes to the wind producers. Do you have any, and I apologize for being late, I was at another event, do you have any information as to how many, quote, takes is at issue here?
The issue of how many birds are taken from wind turbines is an issue that many researchers have been involved in the last several years. But I think a general estimate that seems to be accepted in the literature is somewhere around or above 500,000 birds a year. So that's 48,000 wind turbines, 500,000 birds. I guess if I do some quick math, that's about 10 birds per turbine per year. In the oil and gas industry, the oil pits and stock tanks associated with the oil and gas industry, again, the literature says about 1 million to 2 million birds per year. Compare that to power lines, transmission power lines. The literature estimates are as many as, or well, the average of about 40 million birds per year. And then, something like, something that's familiar to all of us, like automobiles and trucks, about 70 million birds per year. So lots of sources of take on migratory birds, and as the chairman has pointed out, these are strict liability laws, so we have to use our enforcement discretion in looking at a take. We have a capable but small organization, and we have to put our resources in the field where we see the most significant take, and places where people are ignoring or not applying pretty simple and accepted best management practices.
Thank
The
you.
gentlelady has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from